Yo guys, welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be talking about one of the latest arcs of none other than My Hero Academia. I haven't covered My Hero here on the channel in a long time, and that's because honestly I haven't been reading it. As physical volumes come out, it's hard to keep up just reading it, I oftentimes forget what happens from volume to volume when there's several months in between and I'm consuming other pieces of media during that time. I hate to have to just keep going back and rereading it. So what I ended up doing is I went back and reread the entire Liberation War arc, which is the arc we just wrapped up physically, and then we're going into what I believe is the final arc. I could be wrong on that, but it wraps up in volume 31 and I believe begins in volume 26, which is the arc that is going on in the anime right now. So yeah, I'm going to be covering that, giving you guys my thoughts and what I feel just about it overall and the current state of the manga. So yeah, hope you guys enjoy. Let's get right into it. So yeah, first thing that I do want to talk about is My Hero Academia has definitely taken on a lot darker of a tone as we near the end of the series. A lot is being revealed about certain characters and certain previous plot points. Characters like Dabi and Hawks, and plot points such as the secrets of One for All, and the relationship between All for One and Midoriya's predecessors. Yeah, a lot is being revealed at the moment. There's a lot of crazy stuff happening. This entire war that just happened in the manga caused a lot of people to die. There was a lot of destruction, a lot of pro heroes that died. And what I really like is that this tone, as we again near the end in the climax, the story is basically taking on what we call, like in literary terms, the darkest hour. Which is like, it usually happens before the climax, where a lot of characters start to doubt themselves and doubt the situation, the status quo at hand. And there's a lot of confusion and just, it's the situation and what's happening around the main characters just seems hopeless. And usually there's some sort of revelation that a character has, or something that gets them out of this rut. That'll push them into the climax where at least part of their problem is solved, and then they can, finish off the series. Well, not necessarily the series, but like go out with a bang with the climax of whatever it is, whether that's a single volume, an arc, the series as a whole. It does not matter. That's sort of what this arc seems to be leading into, is especially towards the end of this arc, is this whole darkest hour. Of course, I said, what makes this dark and so compelling is because, the series definitely feels like it's reaching a climax, which it is. Of course, we now know this, the series is ending soon, and again, I believe it's in its final arc. But yeah, characters like Dabi have huge reveals in this, of course. The Todoroki family drama, which I actually find to be super interesting. Of course, it's something that a lot of people had speculated about from, the introduction of his character way back when. Now it's, finally been revealed, and yeah, really like that, and it's some, you can definitely see some character growth with Endeavor in this, and also Shoto is going to have to be pushed to step up with this whole situation, having to fight and possibly kill his brother, Toya, who becomes Dabi. There's also stuff with, I believe it was during this arc we find out about Aizawa's past. Aizawa also, his friend who became the portal dude or whatever, because his memories got messed with or something like that. I can't exactly remember, which is kind of ironic, because I just, you see what I did there. Anyway, that's, pretty dark, there's a lot of just huge reveals happening here towards the end. That, I don't know, just the shift of tone really makes this arc just really great. And yeah, it's gonna be like this moving forward. I've heard really good things about what the next arc, you know, Deku becoming a vigilante pretty much, and that's sort of where volume 31 leaves off. Is he dips out of UA and he's got like this new uniform, and yeah, he's a lone wolf now, so it's gonna get interesting and again more dark. During this arc, you can also definitely see like a major shift in focus of characters. It seems, and this is kind of a problem I have with it at the moment, and not that it's totally a bad thing, because the characters that it is focusing on are great characters, probably my favorite characters. But at the same time, I would like to see more characters have the limelight, which is, I guess, kind of hard to do when there is such a large cast of characters. But yeah, we mainly focus on just Bakugo, Midoriya, and Shoto from like this whole arc, ever since like the Endeavor Agency arc. That's really the only characters we're supposed to like follow, I suppose. Like, they are the main characters now, when earlier on in the series an argument could be made that, you know, Bakugo is, you know, a main character, but he's kind of off to the side. But characters like Uraraka and Tenya, who I would say were like the deuteragonist and whatever the third character is, they were like Midoriya's main support, you know, at the beginning of the series. I would say, you know, they were also the main characters. But what I didn't enjoy too much is how characters, mainly Uraraka and Tenya, seem to have really just been pushed to the side throughout this arc, and just, I feel like the last few arcs, honestly. They're really interesting characters. You know, the budding romance between Uraraka and Midoriya has always compelled me. You guys know I like a good romance. Those two characters specifically, like, that was supposed to be a thing, and it's sort of, I guess, coming to fruition in ways. We can definitely see Uraraka feels a certain way about Midoriya, like, that's no secret. We see that especially through her conversations with Toga. But then characters like Ida, you know, Tenya, he's, you know, he was like a main character, but he's just been like supporting cast. He's been reduced to the same level as characters like Kirishima or Kaminari, where it's just like kind of throwaway characters, you know. But I'm hoping that in the next arc, the focus is shifted a little bit more on them, as Midoriya is kind of doing his own thing, and we get some limelight for those two characters specifically, but also the other members of Class A as well. That being said, the main focus cast definitely has a lot of development in this arc specifically. Of course, Todoroki with his whole drama with his whole family, with his mom, his dad, and then now his presumably deceased brother, who turns out to be Dabi. That whole stuff is really interesting. I dig that a lot. Midoriya is unlocking the secrets of One for All and what it means to be, you know, this is, I guess, a bit of a spoiler, like a big spoiler, but at the end of the arc, we find out that Midoriya is gonna pretty much be the final user of One for All. Like, it cannot be passed on. And the reason is because people who inherit One for All, your body is not supposed to be able to hold one or multiple quirks. And because the ability of One for All takes in so many other quirks, you know, it's like a culmination, like a melting pot of quirks. It's really only meant to be compatible with people who are quirkless, which is why characters like All Might were able to utilize it to its fullest, and why Midoriya is honestly the perfect vessel for One for All. And now, finding Midoriya to be able to pass this quirk onto was already difficult enough since the majority of the population has quirks. You know, as time goes on, the odds of finding somebody quirkless are significantly lowered, as of course many people are breeding and the population grows with more quirks and it's deemed normal. It was much more common when One for All was first created to find somebody who was quirkless. So it was easier to pass on, I guess. But we find out that characters like, I forget his name, but one of the predecessors of One for All, he had it his whole life and he died young simply because his body could not handle One for All. He died like in his 40s, but he died of old age because One for All was so taxing on the body because he had multiple quirks. He had One for All and his own quirk, so it kind of like his body could not handle that. So yeah, that's why Izuku is really the only one who can use it to its fullest. All Might being pretty much out of commission now, and the entire population around Midoriya being like they all possess quirks. So the odds of finding, like I said, another person quirkless is so low and nearly impossible that Midoriya is essentially the last of his kind. Another major character development that we have during this arc, of course, is Bakugo, who starts to become far more compassionate towards, I guess, not really everybody. He still has that fire in him. He's a firecracker. I mean, that's his whole thing. He's literally, what is it, King Murder Dynamite Explosion God or something like that. Like, that's his whole superhero name. He's definitely still a violent dude, don't get it twisted, but he starts to want to protect Deku, which is really interesting, I guess. I guess he sees him more, he recognizes how much he's grown, and now that, you know, for a while he's known the secrets of One for All, he was one of the few people who knew about it. He realizes just how important Izuku is, and, you know, I guess has this drive to protect him. As we do see in this arc, he steps in and nearly sacrifices himself for Izuku. He jumps in front of Shigaraki's tendrils, I guess, and it pierces him all over the body, and, you know, it was like a whole shock factor moment where like, oh, he's gonna die. That didn't happen, but yeah. We see this major character change, which honestly at first was a little off-putting because it's just unusual. We haven't seen this from his character. You know, we've seen him softer earlier on. There was a moment where he like broke down, and also him like challenging Izuku, which was honestly one of the coolest fights in the entire series, was when the two fought. But yeah, this just major change was a little off-putting, but we'll just have to see what happens with that. Overall, I'd say that My Hero Academia in this arc was the best that it's ever been. I really enjoyed it, and again, as I sort of talked about in my previous video, the darker tone that a lot of shonen series are starting to have these days, I'm a big fan of, and this is no exception whatsoever. Yeah, I really dig it. This whole darkest hour sort of vibe that's going on, definitely coming into the climax of the series with big fights that are going to happen and major developments between Izuku and Shigaraki, sort of like a yin and yang kind of thing happening, some duality. I really enjoy all of that and can't wait for it all to wrap up. Yeah, it's going to be awesome. Can't wait. Also, especially with Izuku, now he's like a vigilante, you know, going against, I guess, the hero code. I mean, vigilanteism is illegal. Like, he's straight up dipped out, you know, like, it's something that we would not expect from Izuku, but he feels like he is having to take on this burden alone, which is, I guess, one of the main themes right now, where he has like a major character internal conflict, you know, where he feels like, again, he has to take this on alone, and I feel like it's gonna develop that. idea more later on, with characters being like, no, you're not alone, you know, how we often see in shonen or just other pieces of work, pieces of media, common trope. But yeah, I can't wait for all this to be explored and wrap up. Anyways, guys, I hope you did enjoy. That's gonna about do it for today's video, and if you did enjoy, I'd really appreciate it if you guys leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Yeah, we're getting close to 225 here, which is really cool. That was sort of my goal to get to by the end of the year. So yeah, I believe we're at 219, 220, something like that. So if we can get, 225 by the end of the year, that would be great. I've got another video hopefully coming out this weekend, so stay tuned for that. And yeah, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.